Okay, so we're in the sport mode. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we're going to be going over the all-new BMW 7 Series. First and foremost, though, a huge shout out and thank you to the BMW Pleasant Grove, Utah for giving me some time with this 7 Series. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help whatsoever, just ask for Brendan. And if you don't know, the BMW of Pleasant Grove does not charge any sort of markups on any of the product, and I'm sure that there are plenty of dealers that are trying to charge big markups on these new 7 Series. So if you want a great deal on a new BMW, just ask for Brendan. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So under the hood, we have a twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's also paired to a 48-volt mild hybrid system. Now, fuel economy is 18 around town and then 26 on the highway, with power outputs being a whopping 536 horsepower and then 553 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go to the front end, I do want to mention, if you see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood itself, it is absolutely enormous. You guys can see you've got distinctive lines there in the center, and it goes all to the BMW logo, and I actually think it looks pretty good. Now, coming down below, everything is all blacked out on this particular 760i, which I think looks really cool. You guys can see we've got the new split headlight design, just like the new BMW X7 LED lights. We got parking sensors on the front end as well, and then notice there's a little camera there in the center. And then putting it all together, I mean, this car definitely makes a statement. You know, BMW actually owns Rolls-Royce, and I can definitely kind of see some Rolls-Royce design cues with this front end. Coming around the side here, tire and wheel setup is 255/45/20 in the front and then 285/40/20 in the rear. And then you guys can see the wheel design. You've got the silver there on the top, and it's probably hard to see in camera, but notice we've got those little inserts there to make the wheel a little bit more aerodynamic. And then we do have the blue brake caliper in M color blue, which I think also looks great. And then here's the full side profile, which I find very interesting because, again, you've got the new front end, which is definitely a huge design departure for BMW, but then the back end is more traditional BMW, and so you have like the combination of the both, which is very interesting. Now here's our key fob. You guys can see you've got the remote start function. You got to press that 3 times. And then on the side here, we've got our unlock. We have our opening here for the trunk, and it's very nice, like feeling and looking key fob overall. But just press that and it'll pop right open. Now with the trunk, it is absolutely enormous, and it's kind of expected. Again, it's a 7 Series. It's a large luxury cruiser, so it just kind of is par for the course. Now you got this to lock it, and then you got that to just close the trunk. So first off, I want to show you guys the taillights. Pretty cool. So if I unlock the car, notice it'll kind of slowly illuminate, and then if I lock the car, it'll just recede back. Pretty cool animation there. And then you guys can see all of our normal badges here in the back, and then look at the camera there actually in the BMW logo. Parking sensors here at the bottom, and then those are pretty cool looking exhaust tip covers. And then if you guys look at the full rear view, this is what I'm talking about, like seriously, traditional kind of like BMW styling with the rear. So it's just so interesting to see the two different like styles meet each other. Now you have 2 different ways to actually open up the doors. If you want to open up traditionally, just pull this little handle, so put your hand in and then pull, and then you can just basically open up the door like that. But this also does have the fancy automatic doors, so you just press that button right there, and then it'll open up all the way for you, which is really cool, and the doors are soft closing. Now going over the door panel here, you guys can see we have an automatic sunshade. I'll show that in just a moment, but I want to focus on the material use. Look at the beautiful leather all over the door panel, even down below to the very bottom. Looks fantastic. This is to open and close the door, and then you guys can see here for like your window control, your door lock and unlock, and then yes, we do have the screen. We'll go over that in just a moment, but just such a beautiful design. Okay, so first off, I was slightly wrong. That's just the normal door popper. This button up here is the automatic one. So, yeah, so many different ways to open the door because, again, automatic, that's just to pop it normally, and then this is actually the manual release down below, so yeah. Now back to the screen. This is where I can control the climate from the rear, and then also I have my seat controls, so tons of different adjustments with the seat, massage seat function as well with like several different options, and let me tell you, that feels nice. Wow. And then you guys can see climate controls here, heated and ventilated seats for the back. This is pretty fancy. It's kind of like a secondary infotainment system in a way. And then yes, we got the blinds. So like I can press this and it'll put that up. What does this one do? Oh, that's for the sunroof. Wow. that is fancy. That is pretty cool that you can control all of that just from this little screen right here. But yeah, you guys can see response time's great. And so like as a rear passenger, I mean, you couldn't really ask for more. Now, when it comes to legroom, it's obviously fantastic. Again, you kind of expect that with the big luxury cruiser. We've got this little storage pocket right here, and then you guys can see this for the little charging port. And I like how you've got like stitching here on the back of the seat. And then we got some vents here in the rear, and then some more storage down below. And then this is kind of like a little extension thing, so you can see the cup holders here for the center console. And then you've got the lid, so some more USBs. And look at this on the top. That's a really cool design. And speaking of cool design, look at these seats, and you can see how it's all perforated in the center. Like, that is just so fancy. Okay, now time for me to leave. Oh, it's doing the thing. Now the front door panel is just as nice as the rear, so really beautiful leather trim, as you can see with that cool two-tone design. And then look at like the crystal here, and then like the seat adjustments on the door panel and in crystal. And you got like your memory seat functionality down below. And then again, look at the speakers here for the sound system. All of our window controls here with the sunshade controls as well. And then you've got your mirror adjustments. The mirrors do power fold in. That's just to open up the trunk. And then that's your regular door open function. And then you guys can see blind spot monitoring for the mirrors. And then you can see with the front seats just as nice as the rear seats, perforated all down the center here. Really cool design. And then obviously, since the seat adjustments on the door panel, everything here is all cleaned up. And then really cool pedal layout down below. And then obviously that's just to close the door, and then you have like your light controls off to the side. Of course I'm gonna do this one. Now here is the steering wheel for the 7 Series. You guys can see really nice leather trim all around. You got the M logo here at the bottom, and then look at like the stitching even on the airbag cover there. And then we've got practical controls for like, you know, your voice command controls here, and then you guys can see cruise control over on the other side. Really cool paddle shifters here on the back of the steering wheel. And then you guys can see you've got your turn signal stock, and then your windshield wiper stock, and also boost. And then you can see with the front seats just as nice as the rear seats, perforated all down the center here. Really cool design. And then obviously, since the seat adjustments on the door panel, everything here is all cleaned up. And then really cool pedal layout down below. And then obviously that's just to close the door, and then you have like your light controls off to the side. So we have this full digital gauge cluster, which is really fancy actually. And notice we got like their content tab. And so I can show whatever I want here in the center with that content tab. So the one you guys saw initially was the augmented reality, but like whatever you want to like pop up in the center, you can have pop up in the center, which is pretty fancy. And then also you can change like the overall layout, how everything kind of looks in the center as well, with whatever style you prefer. Again, super customizable. Really good camera system here. So you guys can see the bird's eye view there on the right side. And then notice as I turn the wheel, the camera will actually like slightly kind of turn with it. I don't know if that's going to pop on camera very well, but it's just a cool feature overall. But notice there's like also a 3D view here with the car, which is also super fancy. But yeah, I mean, like it's just car wash view. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I like the camera system. Solid job, BMW. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, this is just like BMW's new hyper screen here. So you guys can see it's again connected with the gauge cluster. But you basically have a shortcut bar here on the side. Response time's fantastic. It's really easy to use, frankly. Now, this is one thing that some people aren't too fond of because it's like kind of overwhelming, but I'm glad that you have like shortcuts to a bunch of different systems within the vehicle. And notice that I can control everything with an analog dial if I don't want to use the touchscreen for some reason, which is also pretty cool. Now, I will say one slight downside to this infotainment system is you have to do a little bit of menu hunting to get things done. And what I mean is, for example, I can press this button here on the door panel, which is for the seats, and then it'll pull up the seat tab, and I can do driver or front passenger. But like if I want to turn on the massage seat function, then I gotta go over massage, and then I have to slide this to turn it on. And so you kind of have to go through quite a few menus to get certain functions turned on. And then you have a pretty interesting assortment of controls right here. So this is actually for like the vents to open or close them. And you have them all over, so they're also here on the side as well. But then you also have these little things to kind of direct the airflow that are down below the vent as well. So yeah, definitely an interesting system. And then if you're wondering, this thing looks like a folder is for the glove box to open it. We have a wireless phone charging pad down below, and then we have this little tab right here that covers up the cup holder section, which, I don't know, I think that looks pretty neat. Now we have our center control stack right here. So this is basically for the infotainment system. It's cool that it is a crystal, kind of matches the overall theme of the interior. Even like the volume control, they've done a great job with this. And then you have this for like the suspension to adjust it, which is pretty cool. And then you have your drive modes actually. So we can press this and notice we have quite a few different modes we can go through. Yeah, there's a lot. Wow, like expressive, relax. That's so funny that you have all these different modes to go into. And it makes sense, right? Because some people will use this as a chauffeur car, so I imagine like the relax might be for that. But anyways, you guys can also see this button right here. So if I press this button, this is actually for the driver assist, and then also stuff for the drivetrain and chassis. So like if you want to get rid of the sounds, for example, all that kind of stuff. So again, lots of shortcut buttons to then dive into the screen and figure things out. You guys can see the engine stop start here, and then the transmission selector, and then with the parking brake. And actually something I want to show you guys. So I'm going to open up the door here. Okay, so if I turn on the car and the door is open, oh, it did it earlier. So if you get into the car, turn on the car, and the door's open, then it'll automatically close the door. I experienced that several times because the door almost like closed on my leg. I bet it would stop, but like it was still kind of funny. And then here is the center console. You guys can see tons of storage space here, a couple of USB-Cs, and then nicely lined with felt. And I love the finish here on the outside. And then we have our control here to cover up the giant glass roof here at the top, which, kind of another cool feature to kind of make the cabin feel a little bit more open. Now here's a window sticker for this 760i, and first off I want to show you guys warranty information for your 50,000 mile new vehicle warranty. Now here's the base MSRP, $113,600. Now this has quite a few options added to it, as you can see, and after all options on this particular one, total MSRP is $130,000, which still undercuts the S-Class when it comes to pricing. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, and hope you can now see the heads-up display. And yeah, the hood is pretty large. Both the mirrors, which you can do at blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And also, that's wood trim there on the side is actually pretty cool. But anyways, let's set off. Setting off in the new 7 Series, and this is actually probably the longest review that I have filmed in a while. I'm not talking about just like runtime in the video, just like how long it took me to actually film this video because of just all of the features and everything that this car has. I mean, it's quite a bit. But anyways, so far, seat comfort's really good. Massage seat function, that's always such a nice thing to have. And actually, I'm gonna try to lean back a little bit more so you guys can probably get a better view of the car. I love the feeling of the steering wheel. I love the look of the steering wheel too. It definitely has, you know, a slightly different look than what you see with most BMW steering wheels, and I like it quite a bit. Really smooth. You do hear a little bit of rumble out of the V8, but it's not a bad sound. It's actually a really good sound. This augmented reality is so strange, but it kind of reminds me of like the Cadillac Escalade, what that has, but this seems to be a little bit crisper, if that makes sense. Turns really well. I noticed the turning radius on this is really solid. It's super comfortable when it comes to suspension. So let's go to, I guess, relax. So I guess that it's going to close the sunroof. Relax driving in a pleasant atmosphere. Huh, that is interesting. So I guess it just closed the sunroof on us because of that. But yeah, suspension with this is really good. Again, it says pretty decent sized wheels, but it does a solid job going over the bumps and everything. And it's super quiet. That's one of the big things, is it's really insulated cabin. I do like this like all on the dash too. I think that looks pretty cool, and lots of speaker action there at the top, it looks like. And I think they just did a really good job with this interior. There's a lot happening, but I think that overall it's solid. Now this is what I'm really interested in seeing, and it's like nothing on the screen. That's cool. So I want to see how this does over this little, yeah, the suspension's really good actually. Expressive, impressive visualization. What the heck, these modes are strange. This is and the roof opens back up because we go into expressive. That is This is an interesting car to say the least. Okay, so we're in the sport mode. Oh, that is so cool. Now this has an RPM lockout right now because it still has to break in, so we can't go like full into it, which I think that's pretty cool. I think that more automakers need to release something like that. General Motors has it with like the C8 Corvette, for example, and I've also seen it in the Cadillac V models. But it's cool that it literally has like a lock there, so you can't like it shifts right when it needs to, and I think that makes it easier as an owner because then you know exactly, you know, what you have to do when it comes to acceleration. But what I will say is I haven't driven the i7 yet. I'm sure I'll get a review on that in the near future. But this V8 performs really well. I've driven this engine in several BMW models. It's super powerful. It just does a really good job, and I have a sneaking suspicion I'm probably going to end up liking this powertrain more because I think that just big V8s just always feel better in electric cars in luxury cars rather than electric powertrains. You know, I think that in the past we thought that electric was going to be like the best thing for luxury cars because it's quieter, but I don't know, there's just something really appealing about a V8. And I actually want to see these paddles, how that kind of really responsive. Actually, what's this boost function mean? Ah, so you actually do get like a yeah, you do get a little boost there. That's cool. So you hold down the minus paddle and it gives you a little boost for a minute. That is pretty snazzy. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, those manual shifts are so quick, and this engine sounds really good, actually. And this still like kind of, you know, it's a big floaty car, but it still drives like it still pretty much drives like a BMW. I think that's the most impressive part. Wow. So let's see if I hold down that, if it'll pop. Yeah, that's back in automatic. So some of the things up here with the new 7 Series. I really like this. I know that some people might not like the new split light design on the front end, just like the X7. But, you know, I'm sure that it's something that people don't like now, but, you know, probably in a few years, everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, that looks so good. Like it just will take some time to grow on you. But really nice materials inside. I love most of the exterior cues, and this drives really well. I'm sure you guys all want to know the new Genesis G90 and then also Mercedes S-Class. Seems like that's all that everyone cares about because like the Audi A8 and the Lexus LS are kind of outdated at this point, so nobody really cares about them anymore. But you know, compared to the Genesis gives you a lot of similar equipment, obviously at a lower price. Powertrain doesn't even compare. The Genesis powertrain's not nearly as good. But what I will say is this drives, like the Genesis is just straight luxury car. This is luxury car plus you actually still have, you know, some BMW performance. And then Mercedes S-Class, kind of similar as the Genesis, where it's just luxury car. It doesn't really have a performance side. Now, engine to engine, I like this V8 more than Mercedes V8. Their 4 liters a good engine, but this just punches harder, frankly. I think that it's just a better powertrain overall. This is a big car. Wow, this is like as big as like some full-size SUVs. That's the thing about these luxury land yachts. So, you know, feature to feature, you get more with this than the S-Class at a lower price point, which I think is a huge plus. And yeah, I mean, that's a tough decision to make, but I will say that here's what it is. I think this is a better car. I do think that the S-Class's UI is a little bit easier to use than the BMW's, so that's what it has over the BMW. And then some of you might like the S-Class styling a little bit more. Same thing with the Genesis G90. But I think in terms of driving experience, comfort, and all that, this one right now I think is the best. That's gonna sum things up for our video on the 760i. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the BMW of Pleasant Grove, Utah for giving me some time with the 760i. Check out the inventory in the description down below. Ask for Brendan. I'll see ya.